Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2003 Chevy Silverado, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the K-Source custom fit extendable side towing mirror. So right off the bat, you can pick these mirrors up as a set, so the driver and passenger side, or they're also available individually. So let's say if you already have this type of mirror on your truck and maybe you busted one of them, you don't need a set, you can always pick them up single too. So whatever the case may be, you got a few different options. So one of the cool things about these, with them being a direct replacement, you can either just freshen your truck up, or if you had damaged ones, these are going to pop right in. But it seems like what a lot of people are using these for is an upgrade, right? So a lot of the 1500, the half-ton trucks didn't come with these big mirrors, and they just kind of had that standard smaller mirror. Well, that's great for your everyday use, but if you're going to be pulling around big trailers and things like that a lot, it can kind of get annoying. And then you really have a couple options. One, get some type of universal fit type towing mirror, or a towing mirror that kind of clamps on to that factory housing. And those, you have to install them and take them off and put them on all the time. I could see where that'd kind of get annoying. Or an option like this, just to replace your whole mirror entirely. And if it were me and I was pulling a lot of trailers around, I'd probably go for something like this. Not only is it more convenient, you get that big lens, but I think it kind of makes the truck look a little tougher too, at least in my opinion, if that's your thing. But right off the bat, even with the mirror in this position, it helps out a lot. But let's say if you have something really big, like say this pontoon behind us, you can actually pull this out and it extends pretty far. So I think it's safe to say, your bases are pretty much covered here. You should be able to see everything you need to and then some with the setup like this. With that said, it is tight. Some people have mentioned that it's kind of difficult to pull out. I don't really think it's too bad. I mean, you have to put some effort into it, but honestly, I would probably want it like that. I feel like if it was loose, then you would deal with this thing rattling around and bouncing around on you. I mean, when it's this far extended, it wouldn't take much for that to happen. So I would be glad it's tight, to be honest with you. That way everything stays sturdy and you get a good clear image whenever you're looking into the lens. So just to kind of give you guys an example of what you're actually going to see out of the lens, here's the big picture. And that top portion of the mirror, we just have so much more surface area. You're going to be able to cover so much more ground. So even with a big pontoon boat like this, I mean, these things are pretty big. You can still see the tires of the trailer, and you can still pretty much see around it completely, which is convenient. And then that brings me to my next point. That lens there on the bottom, that really throws out that picture and what we're going to be able to keep our eye on. So even if I come up and walk essentially what would be into the next lane, if you're in the highway, you can still see me and you can still have a good idea on what's going on around you. So one thing with the mirrors is you're going to be able to retain those features that your truck already came equipped with. So in our case, our mirror is already power. Okay, so we're still able to adjust that upper lens like we normally would, just like a factory deal. Granted, the bottom one is manual, so you will have to do that by hand. And it even has the turn signals still in there. So everything's plug and play, works just like it would right out of the factory. But with that said, keep in mind, these type of features are only going to work if your truck already has them. So let's say if you have like a work truck package, for example, that the original mirrors don't have the turn signals and they're not power. You can't take the power set that has the turn signals, put them in, and expect them to work. They're just not going to be wired up from it out of the factory. So if that's your case, you don't really need this type. They actually have these mirrors in a couple different configurations. Scroll through a little bit and find the ones that are going to be best suited for your particular truck. So at the end of the day, if I was planning on doing quite a bit of towing, I would probably do the exact same thing our neighbor did here today and just swap out the whole mirror assembly, as opposed to trying to make it work with some strap-on universal mirror, or even the clip-on custom fit ones for that matter. Those are good for you know, every now and again on the weekend doing your towing, but you know, if you're gonna be pulling a trailer a lot, really can't go wrong. As far as the installation goes, these things go really smooth actually. It's a direct replacement. Like I said, they're really well built. I've actually done these K-Source mirrors on several cars now. This truck, I've put some on a Ram, I've put some on a Subaru, and I think another vehicle as well. I can't remember, but with all of them, it goes together smooth. You know, there's really no issues that you run into as far as getting it on. So really shouldn't give you too much trouble. But with that said, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage and put them on together now. To begin our installation, what we're gonna have to do is remove our door panel. That way we can get our mirror off and unplugged. Keep in mind too, each vehicle is gonna be a little bit different depending on if you have power mirrors, power windows, etc., things like that. So just something to think about. But with that said, first thing we're gonna do is remove this panel here, this triangle one. You can just take a trim tool and pry that off. I have a piece of foam in here too. We'll just pull that out while we're right here. And then we can come here to our lock. We're gonna pop that out as well. It's essentially you just kind of pry it out. Then if we look here by our door handle, you can get that piece of plastic out too, so you just pull up on it. And when you're doing this, be careful, especially on a little older vehicles. A lot of times this plastic, you know, it gets real brittle and can break apart. So just something to think about while you're doing this. With that out of the way, now we can get this out. So with these, you're essentially just gonna pry up on it. And same thing here in the front. We're just gonna try to work this out. These things are really prone to breaking. It's pretty tough to get them out without breaking them. So unless you got a good trick. But I'm just gonna continue to kind of work this out and try to get it loose until we can pull it up out of there. Actually, it looks like that piece is already broken in there, so I guess the only thing really holding it in, there we go, is it's just real tight in the door there. So now that that is done, you can unplug everything. So just gonna push down on the connectors. This one, you have to kind of hold the center down and pull that gray thing back. And then pull this one out as well. Now we're gonna have two screws you need to pull out. So one will be right there. You can use a 7mm socket. And then one up here by our lock. Both of these removed. This one's kind of tight in there. Kind of tricky with these too. Everything's just so small and we don't want to drop it. So be careful doing that. And then now, I believe we should be able to get the door panel off. So, yep, if we just lift up on the bottom of it, it kind of almost just pops right off. And then we're gonna have a couple of connectors, one up here. Looks like it's going to our speaker. Get that disconnected. Then looks like one of our entry lights. Probably be easier just to pull the whole bulb and everything out with that one. So we got this off. Now we can set our panel off to the side. Now we can peel some of this back. And what we're trying to do is get our mirror connections out. So right here we'll have a deal where it's connected. It's let out. These really don't matter if they break because the new mirror comes with new ones. So I'll just get those out of there. Same deal with this one here. And this one as well. And I'm just using a trim tool to get these out. Makes it a little bit easier. And now we can actually start to get the mirror out. So if we look, we're gonna have 3 10mm nuts. And you're gonna wanna support the mirror when you take this last one out. And push those tabs in. We can pull out on our mirror. Feed our wires through. And get it out of the way so we have room to put the new one in. Take our new mirror now. We're gonna take the wiring and feed it through the hole there until we get this to line up. So once we have everything lined up, we're gonna take our nuts and just get all of them started hand tight. That way the mirror will be supported and we can let it go and grab some other tools to get these tightened down and everything. Come back with our 10mm and tighten them down. I like to kind of go in a crisscross pattern just to help kind of draw everything in evenly. That way we make sure it kind of pulls that seal down in there and actually creates a seal. So we'll just continue to kind of bounce around until we get them completely snug. So with that in there, we can take all these clips, push them back into place. We'll go ahead and put our foam piece back in as well while we're right here. And we'll just continue to clip everything in. Once it's all clipped in, we'll just take our plastic here and put that back into place. Now we're ready to put our door panel back on. And if I remember right, I think it's easiest to kind of get the bottom ones in first. I'll tell you too, don't forget to plug your speaker in now. Makes it a lot easier as opposed to when the panel's already on. So yeah, I got the bottom ones in first. Then kind of push everything flat. Push that door panel down. And you should feel it almost kind of click in or lock into place. And that feels pretty good. Door panel's solid, so we'll go ahead and replace the screws that we removed. Once those are in there, you can start to put everything back. So, exactly what we'll do. Just kind of make our rounds here until everything is assembled. Now it's a good idea to test the mirror out. So In our case, we'll just try to make our adjustments. So it's moving back and forth the way it should. Everything else, since we have turn signals on this one, we got that lighting up. So it seems like everything is working properly. And if you happen to pick up a set of these mirrors, you'd simply just repeat the same process over on the other side to get that one done as well. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the K-Source custom fit extendable side towing mirror on our 2003 Chevy Silverado.